Hey, what's up? This is Blake,
And I'm Jackson.
and it is June 26th, 2022. It is officially cancer season, crab season. My birthday is in 4 days, and
Woo!
I'm I don't know, I'm kind of excited for it.
Now all
But
they need is your social, Blake.
yeah, yeah. Only another was it 2, 3 years, and then I can rent vehicles.
I
Yeah, because I'm
is it?
it's
Is it?
it's 25 or 26 to rent a vehicle.
I think it's 25. Well, I'm not
Yeah, so just two
positive.
more years then.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I need to get. That reminds me, I need to get a new driver's license because mine has my old address on it. Plus, I can if I show them the proper paperwork, I can get this cute little puzzle piece on my driver's license that tells police officers that I'm autistic and to not immediately kill me.
Bold of you to assume.
Yeah.
Mine's still vertical, believe it or not.
Really, I still have my old vertical one. Did they do
Yeah,
that after a certain age, or is that
yeah.
just a
21
new
is
way
when
we?
no 21 is when it switches to horizontal.
Oh,
I but I it's not mine's not expired yet, so I don't actually know when it expires. But anyway,
probably about next year or so. It's
yeah.
only good for what, like 4 years?
Yeah, well, in that case, yeah, it would be next year. Yeah. So
Well, anyway, did you do anything interesting this past week? See any new TV shows or movies?
I still have not caught up on Kenobi yet. I'm like 2 episodes behind, but that is finished
I
now.
haven't.
And Miss Marvel,
I'm
haven't seen that either.
I'm probably gonna wait till all of Kenobi is out and then
It
just
is
binge
out.
watch it. All of it?
Yeah, it's only
Really?
like 6 episodes or something like that. But yeah, the final came out last
Oh,
week.
okay. Interesting.
So yeah,
Well then,
get yourself some Kenobi.
yeah. Do anything else fun?
Went to a gay bar. That was fun. I had a blast.
Always fun. Always fun. I went
As
to that. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, as you have famously remarked, gays know how to party.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to that gay bar twice down in Baton Rouge, and it was fun both times. I think one. I think yeah, one time it was just like a regular like night, like it was just a club that was open, and the other night they were doing like a foam party, like they've got a like
Mm.
foam that rains down from the ceiling, and I think it's actually soap because I remember it smelling very soapy. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but it was very fun.
There was a drag show last night, and it it kind of made me think about the the whole thing with like Republicans trying to ban drag shows because they're like
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
sexualizing. It's like they're wearing more clothes than most people do. The whole thing
it
about
is
drag is
true.
like
Yeah,
dressing up, wearing these crazy outfits. Now,
yeah,
obviously, you don't have to. Like, if you're in an adult setting, you don't have to, of course. But a large part of drag is the the crazy getup, right? And so it's kind of
right.
funny to me that it's like, I don't know. Someone made the joke about, you know, how many kids have been molested at drag shows versus Catholic churches.
Damn, damn, son.
Anyway,
Got his ass.
what about you? What did you do this week?
I haven't done a whole lot of much.
Tragic.
I've and I've been cooking. I've been doing a good bit of cooking. I hung out with a couple friends.
Nice.
Um, see, oh yeah, I thought we went bowling a couple days ago.
Oh, wait, that's right. We did go bowling.
Yeah,
Um, and we got our butts beat as usual.
yeah. I finished watching the U.S. season of Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. Have I gushed about that show to you yet?
I don't think so.
So it started off in Australia, but it basically it follows like people on various like levels of the autism spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole point of the show was just them trying to figure out dating, like and like trying to get a significant other, And I don't know if they set them up on certain dates, if they help them find them, where they find these people, because some of them are also on the spectrum, whereas some of them are also just, I think, just like regular neurotypical people. But it's really interesting. So some of these people are just a blast to watch because they're I don't know. So some of these people are exactly like how you'd expect them to be. Like they're very very awkward, and they make a little faux pas here and there, and it can be very funny. But I'm sort of like laughing with them.
Being like, yeah, same. I've done that.
Yeah, or it's like I understand like why they're doing this or why they're saying this, but like I personally learned to move past that. Like I've made a lot of progress since I was a child. Like I'm sure as a like a like a 7-year-old little autistic kid hopped up on Ritalin, I was probably annoying as hell. But I
I don't
learned to
remember.
control my, learned to control myself a bit more. Oh, dude, I was a fucking spaz. I was like, I was very rambunctious. I was very energetic.
Mm. Yeah. Well. Um. We gotta go bowling again sometime. Like bowling is a lot of fun. I used to
Yeah,
not
I'm
like it
getting
all that much, but I really enjoy it now.
I think I'm not terrible. I guess like I either totally make it or like it's just straight gutter ball. Like either I get like a spare or like almost a strike, and or it just goes right in the gutter.
Oh, I'm making no bones about like how not good I am at
Uh,
bowling. I enjoy it. You know, you get to hang out with friends and have a good time, eat some food. I think it's fun. You know.
yeah, true.
We also went to
I
Surge that same day. Or well, I went to Surge. Um, you had work or you were getting off work, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I've also been watching more of that show, Generation War. I'm
Ah,
got like an episode and a half left, which is like still like 3 hours of stuff to watch, but it's very good. I forgot how crazy things are in just the second episode alone, but it's very cool seeing the different aspects of the German perspective of the war, like
mm-hmm.
from Jewish people, men and women in the army and not. So, but yeah, I still want this damn show on DVD, but maybe someday.
Could always pirate it and then download it to a CD or DVD.
That is true. I'd need to get another laptop that has a CD drive in it
Yeah,
or disk drive
but
because my last one did not have one, and I wasn't really too upset about it. But I liked the option of being able to put one in my laptop. But whatever.
yeah, I used to
Hmm.
play like video games more on my laptop. I really don't so much anymore because it's so old. But yeah, it's nice having a disc drive on there. And mostly it's just the Steam games. Like, there are lots of Steam games I enjoy, but my computer is not that great at running them anymore. Probably wasn't supposed to
Hmm.
anyways, because it's a laptop. You know, not like a big desktop or something. So
True. I wish I could get a desktop, but it's a terrible time for electronics. There's a chip shortage. There's a lithium shortage. There's it's a bad time to get into to buy any electronics, which sucks because since my laptop got stolen, I now have to. I'm probably gonna overpay for like one of the most bottom of the barrel, like bare bones basics laptops out there.
yeah. Also, apparently for running low on lithium, it's a bad time to be depressed.
Yeah, yeah, lithium treatment.
um. Well, we ready to
Well,
we ready to
well.
trudge into the news from this past week?
Oh yeah. So so there are some positive things.
That's
There's not
true.
very many, but so it's not all doom and gloom. But the world is on
Most of it
fire as
is.
usual. Yeah.
Yeah, most
Yeah. I
of
mean,
it's.
most of it's very bad.
But there are some little interesting things here and there that we're like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, most of it's the world burning, people losing rights. etc., etc. Um,
Right. Well, let's go ahead and start with one of the non super political ones.
okay, hold on. Let me scroll. Let me. Aha! Here you go, Blake. Mars probe running Windows 98 receives software update after 2 decades.
Yep. So that that probe was running on the old freaking like 20 years outdated Windows software back when it made that really nice booting up sound. And
So
did the "You've got mail" or that might have been Windows Vista.
I'm okay. So have we had a Mars probe that's been running for like 20 years?
Maybe it hasn't been there for 20 years, but at the time, uh, Windows 98 was the only thing they could put on it. So
Okay.
maybe this was like, let's see, I'm trying to remember what came after Windows 98. Maybe it was a Windows XP,
I guess
or
I
was
can
that?
look it up. Let's
Yeah,
see
I was about to say, like, we do have the power of the internet at our
what
fingertips.
came after Windows 98.
Windows XP, released in late 2001. All right, so then
Nice.
why the fuck is it on Windows 98?
I don't know.
I think Windows XP wasn't really good. I think maybe that's why.
I don't know. But that is interesting. It's like, yay, update. um, Now it can like do extra little colors or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's
I wonder what the
I want to
update
know what the
did like qualitatively for the Mars probe. You know,
true.
I'm curious to know. Um,
Yeah, I want to know which one they changed it to.
they
Like
went to
Windows
Windows
10, Windows
10.
11.
Right? Yeah. um, you also posted. She's perfect and she's beautiful. Frozen baby woolly mammoth, discovered in Yukon goldfields.
Now this was some really cool news because I want to say based on what I read, there's only one other baby woolly mammoth that's ever been found, and or at least ever in North America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of pretty good, like mammoth mummies. Um, Not just from the U.S., but also from, I think predominantly from like Siberia.
That makes
Uh,
sense. That tracks.
and so they die and they get like frozen and they're in like the permafrost and they're perfectly, or well, maybe not totally perfectly, but they're extremely well preserved. So well preserved you can still find like their gut contents, and you can pull DNA off them and stuff like that. And so that's how researchers,
Right.
in part, get like DNA samples from mammoths, because we have, I think, a couple sequenced mammoth genomes at this point.
That's pretty dope. That's really cool.
Yeah, there's a field called paleogenomics, and it's basically pulling DNA off of fossils.
That
So
sounds really cool.
yeah, mammoths are like one of the big ones. They've pulled a lot of DNA from. Um, Trying to think what else. Well, there have been several humans, or well, okay. In addition to mammoths, like other elephants, there have been like mastodons that have been found.
Right.
Um, it turns out that the modern genus Loxodonta, which is what the African elephants are, is not
Mm-hmm.
monophyletic. It's actually paraphyletic because there's an extinct elephant called the straight-tusked elephant, which was Paleoloxodon antiquus, and its genome shows that it is actually more closely related to the African forest elephant, Loxodonta cycladus, than the African forest elephant is to the African savanna elephant, which is Loxodonta africana. And so that's kind of a problem because that can't happen in taxonomy. You can't have a um, you can't have a a taxon which does not include all of the descendants, right? Because
Right.
otherwise it's paraphyletic, or worse, it's polyphyletic.
Meaning,
So
meaning what exactly? So could you just define what
oh,
paraphyletic and polyphyletic mean?
sure. Paraphyletic
Yeah.
means that it that the taxon does not include all of the descendants. It only includes some of them. Like the term
Okay.
reptile, for instance, is paraphyletic because reptiles, quote quote, gave rise to both birds and mammals, but we don't consider birds or mammals to be reptiles, right?
Right.
Um, and so reptile is not a clade anymore. It is not a monophyletic group encompassing a common ancestor and all of its descendants. Rather, um, reptilia has been done away with, and instead the clade that includes all modern, quote, reptiles, all extant reptiles like lizards, snakes, crocodiles, turtles, as well as
Right.
birds, is called Sauropsida. And then mammals are just Mammalia. But we are descended from these guys called the mammal-like reptiles, which weren't really, they weren't mammals, and they weren't really reptiles either. I mean, depending on how you define reptile. They were called the synapsids, or stem synapsids.
Hmm.
Um, and so the thing about it is, the point is, since Loxodonta does not include Paleoloxodon, even though Paleoloxodon nests within Loxodonta, um, that means either Paleoloxodon has to change or Loxodonta has to change.
Hmm.
One of them has to change so that all the rest are monophyletic. Or you could
Something's got to change, man.
basically like either if it's just the three of them, you could change like Loxodonta cyclotis to maybe Paleoloxodon cyclotis and leave Loxodonta africana. I don't know what the exact phylogeny of like modern elephants is, or sorry, of modern and extinct elephants. So I don't know offhand, but I think that's interesting. There are some human species or other hominin species, whatever you want to call them, that we have DNA for. Like we have the full sequenced nuclear and mitochondrial um, genome for Neanderthals.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention, fun fact. Um, Thomas Jefferson, the third president of these United States, um, moonlighted as a paleontologist. He was just an amateur paleontologist on the side. Fun fact.
Really, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so there is a species of mammoth named after him. It's Mammothus jeffersoni. And Mammothus jeffersoni is actually a um, a hybrid species between two other mammoth species. And if I remember correctly, I think it's Mammothus primigenius, which is the woolly mammoth, and the Columbian mammoth, Mammothus columbi. And
Cool.
so yeah, fun fact. So yeah, Neanderthals, we have their full genomes for both mitochondrial and nuclear DNA. I believe we have the full Denisovan genome.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about those guys.
Um, Denisovan. So Neanderthals and Denisovans are like sister to each other, and then they're sister to us. So they form like a little branch um, next to us. Uh, there's a there there have been some proteomic studies on a couple of or on a few older species because proteins last longer than DNA does, or typically.
Really.
Broadly speaking, yes, and the reasons are kind of variable. For one thing, you can have cross-linking in certain proteins, which causes them to be very decay
Very stable.
resistant. Yes, they become highly
Yeah.
stable. There are some like oh gosh, what is it? It's collagen. Yeah,
Tertiary
collagen.
structures.
Well, I mean, yeah, the tertiary structure of like collagen is it's like a triangle, if I remember correctly, or it's triangular.
I,
Um,
th- I believe so. I might be misremembering it, but
I
it
think
sounds right.
yeah, I think it's collagen. Um, and it's got this triangular tertiary structure, and that makes it super stable. And so that's why we've actually found the paleontologists have actually found collagen fibers in like dinosaur or non-avian dinosaur fossils.
Hmm.
Um, but there was also well, side tangent. The other thing I was going to say was we have proteomic data on like Homo erectus, which is directly ancestral to our own species, Homo sapiens, as well as
Hmm.
Neanderthals and Denisovans. And there is some proteomic data on a couple of um, of mammals, which are called well, they fall into this clade which is called Meridi ungulata. So basically, you have the hoof mammals, which are your even hoof mammals, which are cows, pigs, goats, deer, giraffes, and whales. Interestingly enough,
Hmm.
those are all even hoof mammals. Although whales are very derived in their lifestyle. They're most closely related to hippos, which are pretty normal. Um,
Hmm.
and so uh, then there you have the odd hoof mammals, which are just horses, tapirs, and rhinos.
Hmm.
And so these two, so um, the closest extinct relatives to the odd hoof mammals, the rhinos, horses, and tapirs, are this group, or is this group, called Meridi ungulata, which includes a couple of groups such as the nodo ungulates and leptopterns, things like that. So basically, this group of mammals got stuck on South America, or in South America, um, in like the Paleocene, so like 60 million years ago or so,
Hmm.
and South America was an island for most of the Cenozoic. So for most of the last 66 million years, South America has been an island. It's separated from Antarctica in around like 50 million years ago or so.
Hmm.
Uh, so detached from Africa first, and I think that was in the late Cretaceous, and then detached from Antarctica last. And Antarctica was still actually attached to Australia for a bit of time, which is how marsupials got from South America to Antarctica and then to Australia. And yes,
Hmm.
we do have marsupial fossils from Australia, no, from Antarctica is what I meant to say.
Hmm.
So Meridian ungulata is this group of mammals, and they get stuck basically in South America, and they evolve. They do a whole bunch of convergent evolution. Very interestingly, some of them evolve to look like elephants, some evolve to look like horses, some look like hyraxes and rabbits and hippos, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so some very late living ones like Macrauchenia and Toxodon, there's some proteins that survive that researchers were able to sequence and show that, which actually resolved a really big controversy in mammal paleontology, which is where does Meridian ungulata fit? Because there were all
Really?
these different. Oh yeah, everybody had like different ideas about where they fit. Actually, Darwin found a couple members of this group back when he went to South America, or fossil members, and he thought they were related to rodents. Then there was a guy named Amagino, if I remember correctly. Um, I believe he was Argentinian, and he found Macrauchenia, which looks kind of like a camel. Uh, but this group that Macrauchenia is in, some of them evolved like single hooves, sort of like horses, and so he thought that horses actually evolved from this group, and that, of course, made him very famous. This was in like the 1800s, but there's this
Right. Right.
really big controversy about where does Meridian ungulata fit, and with this proteomic data, it turns out they're actually most closely related to horses, rhinos, and tapirs. So, fun facts.
That's neato.
Yeah.
Huh.
Sorry, I just got kind
Well,
of
let's see.
rolling there.
Let's see. I think that's about the end of all the objectively good news.
Oh, the
Oh
bacteria,
well.
Blake. Did you put it?
Oh, that is true.
Did
But
you put it in here or
yeah,
no?
Yeah, yeah. So it's the very first thing I sent you.
Oh, it's the very first. Okay, so I went the wrong direction. Aha! A bacterium that is not a microbe. Do you want to talk about that one?
Sure. So, well, I didn't actually get the chance to read the full paper. I'm not sure if you did,
How
but
embarrassing.
essentially, I know. I thought it was. I literally immediately assumed it was stuck behind a paywall, and I was like, well,
It is because science all typically puts their stuff up behind paywalls. So
yeah. But there are ways around that. There are websites whose names I've since forgotten, but could probably easily find out.
yeah, there's this one. I think it's called Sci-Hub, and I believe it's spelled
Yeah, yeah.
SCI-HUB. Now, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it's called. Certainly, don't
And
look it up.
it's a
Certainly, don't look
Russian
it up.
website.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I can just read some from the abstract. So it says,
Yeah.
according to the textbook definition, a microbe is a microscopic organism. It says bacteria are thus prototypically microbial because most of them are very very small, except when they're not. So it goes on to say that identified a bacterium that is astonishingly visible to the naked eye at almost 1 centimeter in length. So that's about I don't know what like a third of an inch in
Something like that.
American units.
And freedom
Anyway, it's a
units, you mean?
gram-negative proteobacterium called Thiomargarita magnifica. Yeah, freedom units. So it lives attached to sunken leaves in the sulfurous waters of mangrove forests in the archipelago of Guadalupe, which I believe I'm gonna guess that's Philippines. That sounds about right. Because it's a Spanish
Guadalupe?
name and it's
I thought it was.
Guadalupe. Yeah.
I thought it was in the Caribbean where they found it. Hold on.
Well, there
Hold.
are mangroves in Southeast Asia. Am I right?
I'm sure, but let me look at that. Guadalupe archipelago. I don't know how it's pronounced. Who cares? It's
Yeah.
it is in the Caribbean.
Oh, okay. So I was wrong.
It is overseen by France, apparently.
By what?
It's
Overseen by
overseen by
France.
France. Oh, and
Hmm.
Ile de Saints is a part of it. I think I've heard of that. It's south of Antigua and. Okay. All right. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so it says this discovery adds to the group of large sulfur bacteria (LSBs) that helps solve the puzzle of what factors limit cell size. So this is a bacterium that is visible to the naked eye. So it says it's between zero point 0.4 to 3 cubic micrometers, which I know doesn't sound very big. A lot of most people probably can't really visualize how big or how small that is because we aren't used to measuring things in cubic micrometers, but it is it is it, I'm not sure if they're very long or and they're very skinny or if they're actually like more rounded and you can actually see them like that because that's absolutely
I
insane that you can
I
see
think
these
it
things with the
was
naked
I
eye.
think it was long and skinny. I think I saw a picture of it. It was long and skinny.
Ah,
But yes, you're correct. It is bonkers big for a bacterium. These are things that are, supposed to be tiny. Now there are some large ones, like Thiomargarita. What they call this guy, Thiomargarita magnificans.
yeah,
So Thiomargarita is in fact a large bacterium. It's a genus of large
genius.
bacteria, and so there have actually there were these embryos that were discovered in China back in '98, and these embryos are very interesting because uh, they were thought to be and are today um, to have been like one of the earliest remains of animals. So they were thought to be animal embryos. Um, and
Hmm.
there was a big debate over whether or not they are actually animal embryos. Some researchers proposed, well, maybe they're protists, maybe they're algae, maybe they are giant bacteria like Thiomargarita. Um,
Right.
and actually, very recently, researchers have done analyses using like all sorts of scanning microscopes and such, and have shown that actually they're developmentally complex enough to be animals. They're not protists. They're not bacteria. They're animal embryos as they were originally described. So cool stuff.
Wow. So, unless you had anything else you wanted to add to that, I was actually going to skip to the very last one because so there were two major Supreme Court rulings this past week, or
Oh, you said the very last
information.
one?
Yes,
The very last thing you
yeah.
posted?
So
Oh, the gun
Supreme
one?
Court expands.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
So Supreme Court expands gun rights with nation divided. Basically, what they did was so in New York, largely due to it containing New York City, there is a ban on concealed carry of weapons. And this essentially, the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional for them to make that restriction. So this now either puts it into the state's hands again, or it fully legalizes the concealed carry of weapons. But I believe, if I'm not correct, if I'm not incorrect, that you still have to take the class and everything, and you still have to pay to get it. Like I don't think there's anywhere where getting a CCW license is free.
I have no idea what the law is regarding that. You're way more informed on gun stuff than I am.
Well, and I think so. Here's my prediction, because a lot of people are acting like this means that New York City is going to become a war zone, and it's like, so basically, I don't think much is going to change, because if they think this is going to make people want to illegally carry guns concealed on them, then I mean people are already doing that. I mean, there are guns in New York City as we speak. There's probably someone being shot in New York City as we speak as well. But
Well, the
yeah. So
one of the things I thought was dumb about this was uh, the Supreme Court ruled that um, the states cannot decide for themselves, uh, like with regard to gun rights, which is deliciously ironic considering their very next decision, which was that a certain thing should be left up to the states. So,
yeah, it's very two sided. Very two sided of them.
it's almost like they don't
Um,
actually care about what they're pushing for. It's all just
right.
part of an
Right.
agenda. Wow. Anyway,
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. I think it's a good thing because it is like a legitimate constitutional right, or the Bill of Rights, at least. The amendments to the Constitution that to keep and bear, or in other words, carry arms. So it lets people have weapons on them, but still, if you either have it on a holster out visible, or you have it hidden in some way, and then it becomes concealed, and that's what you need a license for. Which I believe, I'm pretty sure is universal in all states, that you have to go, you have to take a class, you have to undergo safety instructions, you have to hit the range a couple times and see what your bullet groupings are like at certain ranges. If you're trying to mimic like a quick draw scenario.
and speaking of quick draw scenarios, you didn't include anything on the continuing. I don't know how it's pronounced. Uvalde, whatever the in Texas where the kids were shot at the school and the police didn't go inside the school. All the
Right.
so
I think I
they
meant to pull something on that,
well,
but go ahead.
it's okay. The police are like suing to not release their body cam footage. So, or maybe suit's not the right word. They've hired a lawyer to protect them from getting sued for their body cam footage, which I'm thinking shouldn't there be public record anyways?
Yeah, that's I don't I
Like,
sometimes
how do you not release? How is that not public record? Like, if
so
it's
not
not,
all body cam footage is a public record, and b easily accessible. So I follow several
hmm,
channels on YouTube where it's body cam and dash cam footage from police officers,
hmm.
and the people that upload these videos are on various sides of the coin
Mm-hmm.
for being pro police or pro people and anti establishment, and so it's pretty interesting seeing how the commentary can change on the same video, but it's it can take them a very long time to obtain some of this footage.
Well, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. Do I think all body
Sorry,
cam footage necessarily needs to? No, you don't need to apologize.
hold on 1 second, 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Uh. Oh wait. Sorry. Can you do that? I'll be honest with you. I don't know if in every situation all body cam footage needs to be like public access. Like I can imagine situations where I can think of like reasons why it shouldn't be. Like if police are going into um like a domestic abuse case or something like that to rescue a kid or a rape victim or something like that. Like I can understand why that would be sensitive material.
Hmm.
So I can envision situations in which maybe I'm being dumb about it. But like just off the dome, that those are situations that like I would imagine someone would want their privacy respected or something like that.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, in a lot of cases, um, especially with like cops planting like weed and like crack and stuff like that
Yeah.
on people and using
Hmm.
that to arrest them, like yeah, of course that it would be good to have it, to have it then the exact time they don't have it. Or gosh, there was a an incident where this male police officer, and I don't remember where this was, a male police officer was like basically jumping a person they had pulled over who was not resisting in any way, shape, or form, and a female cop came over like to him to tell him to like get off of them, and he whirled around and grabbed her by the throat and like threw her up against another police car.
Oh, I think I heard about that.
And so like that's crazy. And we probably wouldn't have seen that if not for like I think it was the footage on another officer, but I don't know, maybe someone was just filming it, but
Yeah, some of these police officers are freaking psychopaths. They are absolute like just animals, like rage beasts. Like they are just dying for violence. Like they get off on it almost. But because these are average people, there are sick people that live among our population,
yeah.
and some of them have a badge and a gun and can get away with pretty much beating your ass to damn near to death or even killing you, and
Yeah.
walk off scot free.
Do you remember All Quiet on the Western Front?
Yeah.
So one of the if I am recalling correctly, one of the commanding officers of the main character's like battalion was a dude who was like a postman before the war broke
Yeah.
out, and he was like super mean to everybody because he had never been in a position of authority before. But here
Right.
he was like the sergeant or lieutenant or whatever of a platoon. And now he's super mean to everybody because he's drunk with power basically. And then they get into a firefight and he's cowering in a ditch, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, you probably got guys like that in the police. I mean, you have people like that in every job basically. But I guess just, broadly speaking, we have a lot of issues with police and being a police state in general as a country. So, but that's a topic for
Right.
another day. We could do a whole video on that, Blake.
On what specifically?
Like the issues inherent to our police or the way in which we do policing in the U.S.
We sure could. We could even talk about make separate things for specific aspects of it, like their funding, like how, for example,
Yeah.
the U.S. spends more money on its police than China does on its military.
Yep. And probably with fewer results. No, anyway. Um, let's see. Okay, I was scrolling back up. So the other big piece of legislation that passed this past week. I'm trying to find the best way to. It's fine. It's okay. Was the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was decided originally in 1973 and has federally protected women's rights to an abortion. And it's gone. And
Yep.
the the sad thing is, while this is extremely tragic for women who, I think we said this last time or time before last, something like that. Like, nobody wants to get an abortion. Nobody ever wants to have medical procedures done, and especially one that's like this frowned upon societally, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to get an abortion, but it's often done out of necessity. And also, we have a terrible adoption system. So, another thing
We
to
have
fix.
a lot less maternity leave and paid leave than most other countries too.
Yep, but we're the
So,
best.
like in Europe, for example, I believe it's like either 4 or 8 weeks minimum paid leave per
Mm-hmm.
year for most jobs.
Yeah, right. Um,
And yeah, so we don't have much of that here. We're also um, see there was a whole list of things I saw someone on Twitter talk about that basically underline why it's such a bad idea. So yeah, forced birth in a country with no universal health care, no
yes.
universal child care, no paid and medical leave, and then one of the highest rates of maternal mortality among rich nations.
Yep. Yep. Can't argue with that. Which is kind of amazing because we have probably the most technologically advanced um, uh, medical, I don't know, pharmaceutical industry in the world. I would wager.
I'd say China may have a speed, or maybe on the pharmaceuticals, or India, but
I don't know. I'd wager at the very least we're in like the top 5 in the whole world.
yeah,
I would
yeah, I'd say that's pretty safe.
I would wager that. And the fact that we have such high maternal mortality rates, um, and such a overall just terrible healthcare system is kind of wild. But again,
Hmm.
a topic for another day. Um, the the problem with this is not only is this terrible, it's terrible that this happened. Um, it's also laying the foundation for a lot of other stuff that could potentially happen. And I don't want to make light of it and be like, "Oh yeah, it's bad," but also, but I mean, like it's a
Pretty
domino.
terrible.
This is a
It's pretty
domino,
terrible.
for other dominoes that could possibly fall down. So, or get knocked down by the Supreme Court, because there are lots of cases that give federal protection to a lot of different things, that we take for granted, as a first world nation, which maybe we should be worried about not taking for granted anymore.
Yeah, true. So, some people, like with a pass of a pen, can just strip your rights away like very easily.
And to Well, first I want to point out you picked an article here. French center and left parties vowed to bring in a bill to enshrine constitutional right to abortion.
Yeah, so countries around the world are upset about this too, especially in France and England, it seems. So there's been pro women's rights and bodily rights protests and all throughout Europe and I believe probably some other countries as well.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
so these people may not feel like their what they thought was a solid uh, system and set of laws in their countries are like, well, if this can happen in a Western country, then who knows what maybe could happen here? Or we want to make sure that we're not like that. And once again, America is showing the world something to not do. Um, and you know what? This is the America is one of I want to say only 2 other countries in the 21st century that have made a restrictive law or ruling against abortion. Like, and um, I don't know what the other 2 countries are, but if I had to guess, I'd say probably somewhere in the Middle East. But that's just me. Maybe that's some inherent racism in me. But um,
But Blake, you
I
see,
don't know.
we're the best country in the world. We're the best. We're doing the best. It's the best.
Right. I hate those people that are like, you know what, we got our problems, but I still think we're the best. It's like, no, we are not. We just have a fuck ton of problems. We are very far behind in quite a few different aspects. Like our education isn't the greatest. I mean, we have some top notch universities here, like
Sure,
MIT,
sure.
Yale, Harvard, um, but we also come very far in terms of I think overall happiness, like general happiness. Our healthcare, for one, big surprise. Also, our incarceration rates, like 25% of all people imprisoned in the world are just in America.
And we talk about China being a police state, or Russia,
Right?
you know. Um, Pot calling the kettle black, I suppose.
Well, I'm trying to look up right now what those other two countries might be.
Um,
Abortion.
but you, yeah, that is terrible. Um, you had also
Co-
go ahead.
Colombia and Mexico. Oh, sorry, that's the partially decriminalized abortion.
Mm. You also picked a an article or a little thing that I saw just a little while ago.
Hmm.
Right before this started was it's a tweet, or it was a tweet from Texas Senator John Cornyn, which it was quote tweeting something Obama said, referring to, like, it's terrible that Roe v. Wade was overturned, and then Cornyn said, "Now do Plessy v. Ferguson and Brown v. Board of Education," and you uh also provided a little snippet here. It says, and I quote, Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka was a landmark 1954 Supreme Court case in which the justices ruled unanimously that racial segregation of children in public schools was unconstitutional. May 5th, 2022, Governor Greg Abbott wants Texas to challenge a 1982 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Plyler versus Doe, that requires states to offer free public education to all children, including those lacking legal immigration status.
So yeah, old Greg Abbott is back at it again. But also,
Was he ever
um,
not?
we have a sitting U.S. senator, or I assume, but when it says Texas senator, that he means U.S. Senate, which I believe he is. Yeah, to his mask off racism, just being like, "Hey, let's bring segregation back. You know that shit we got rid of like, oh, 50 plus years ago. Let's go ahead and bring that back into place."
Yeah, um the 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 cartoon villainy of it cannot be overstated, I think. Um these people are just evil. Like, I don't even know what else to say. We
They're
read
getting
the
bold.
Yeah,
They're getting bold with it too.
they're going
They're they
clan
are
mask off, Blake.
they are just being totally balls out with it. They are just they are airing it all out to dry for everyone to see, everyone to know, and it's kind of scary that they feel like that. No, this is a like. Sure, it's cool. They feel like they have the freedom to express these things, which I mean I'm glad they do, but they aren't scared anymore. They
No,
aren't. They don't feel as afraid as they used to about saying such horrible things.
freedom of speech is one thing. I wish they did not have freedom from consequences. Just because you say it does not mean you're going to get to walk away with it. So, I'm sorry. Just my opinion. Um,
Yeah. So, how do you feel then about the people like who get what's the right word? Not red flag lawed, but basically wind up like these teenagers that are talking trash on a video game and they make a joke and they end up getting arrested and going to at least jail and maybe even prison about it. There was a case a couple years ago where this guy who I follow on YouTube, Josh Palalt, he made a joke on RuneScape about shooting up his school. It's a harmless joke that he made while he was
oh, I
just
remember hearing
drunk.
about that guy. Yeah.
And yeah, he spent 6 years in a federal prison because of that.
I don't think you should go to jail for saying anything unless like it can be demonstrated that you like have intent to harm someone or yourself, right? I don't think
Yeah,
you should go to. Oh, when I say you shouldn't have freedom from consequences, I mean if that should be a career-ending thing to say. Like
right,
if you
right.
have the guts to go clan mask off and say something like that, like what Cornyn says or what Abbott says, I wish we lived in a country where saying those things was the death knell of your career, right?
Right.
Nixon resigned because he didn't want uh, all the impeachment that was coming, right? He foresaw
Hmm.
that what he had been a part of was going to be his downfall and left. And we've had numerous other we've had numerous politicians who've dropped out like for less, right? In the
Right.
past. And now we have people who are saying who say these insanely racist things and they're going to get voted in again because they have convinced their constituents to vote against their own self-interests, or
Yeah.
convince them that this is their own self-interest. Um, just the other day, there was a rally, Republican rally that Trump attended, and I cannot remember. I think it was like a senator from Illinois who said, or actually, I
Okay.
think it was yesterday, who said that overturning Roe v. Wade protects white life. I don't know if you heard about that.
Whoa, whoa! I did not. I did not hear about that.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Um, uh, white life.
These people are just dog whistling to
Here we
the
go.
radicals, aren't they? I mean, they're literally just dog whistling to the people that
Bro, this
are
isn't dog whistling. This is megaphoning.
right. I mean, they're just giving more fuel to the fire for these hate groups that want to do like the group in Idaho that we're about to go beat up all those gay people.
So
Um,
I found the
all these
article.
supremacist groups. Okay.
So Representative Mary Miller, Republican from Illinois, said that this is a great victory, a historic victory, sorry, for white life.
Damn.
So
Just damn.
yeah, um, they're not afraid, and they should be afraid to say these things in public. They because as we said last time, I believe they're outnumbered. The people who want abortions to be a right outnumber the people who don't. The
Yeah,
people
and
who
that's
oh, go ahead, Blake.
it's crazy because even though like these people like the majority of Americans who feel a certain way about certain things, there's still those other people. There's still millions and millions of others who hear about these awful things that politicians say or want to make happen and are just clapping their hands, going, "You're goddamn right. It's just as it should be." Like all these dimwit rednecks here in the South, man. Like, that, like, there's a non-zero amount of people who heard that in Texas. That John Cornyn said that,
Mm-hmm.
who are just ecstatic about it. It's being like, you know what? Why don't we? Why don't we take a look at that one?
Yeah, um, yeah. Um, there's a word that I think we should associate with politicians, and it's a French word. It starts with a
Go on.
G, and it's a really good arm workout. You know, no, I'm just kidding. Anyways, what else? What other stories do we have here? I'm sorry, I skipped over the first one you posted here. Rage Against the Machine donating ticket sales to reproductive rights organizations. Tell us
This
about
made me
that.
really fucking happy. So, not only did Rage Against the Machine get back together, I want to say last year after being split up for I want to say over a decade. Um, so not only is Rage Against the Machine back together, I guess they thought that uh, the political climate was getting to where they felt like they were needed again because they are such a political group, very revolutionary, very very radical, very anti-establishment, very fuck the government, anti-war. And they're very very open with it in their songs. I mean, and I'm a very big fan of them. I mean, I've got some Rage Against the Machine merchandise. Hell, I just bought a little poster that had some of the lyrics from their song "Guerrilla Radio" on it. Uh, it comes in a part. There's a little break in the song instrumentally, and it's just the singer Zach De La Roca sort of like whisperingly talking to the microphone. He says, "It has to start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?" And I don't know why, but I really love that quote. It's basically saying
Yeah.
it's like if you want to get shit done, then why not start right now, man? Like, and it's very true. And I this is a very Rage thing to do. Like they for them to immediately start to just find ways to give money to the causes they believe in. They're really good at that. Good about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what else we got. What else did you add?
Sorry. Before you go on, I just wanted to add something. So,
Yeah.
one of the bands that formed after Rage Against the Machine disbanded, pretty much the lead singer Zach De La Roca had some creative differences, but whenever they formed the band Prophets of Rage, they their very first show was at a U.S. prison, and I don't know whoever in charge let that happen because they knew that this was going to be like a radical anti-establishment band.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny in prisons where you get MP3 players and stuff like that, and you can buy songs to listen to. Um, they almost always don't have "Killing in the Name of" on there because it says says some of those who work forces are the same that burn crosses, and it's basically hardcore dissing police officers as being the same as Klan members, which I think is pretty funny. So they're just like, nope, you can't listen to that song.
Well, a bunch of police groups were originally formed to capture runaway slaves, so
Mm,
not super surprising.
that's true.
Um, a non political story, I guess. Oslo shooting, Norway attack being treated as Islamist terrorism, police say. You want to tell us about that?
Yes. So I just really wanted to bring this one bring this one up just to sort of I don't know this is sort of towards the end of the show, so maybe now's not the time for the full conversation about it. But I'll just say my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I like immigration. I think immigration is a great thing. But when it comes to taking in refugees who have worldviews and traditions and cultural aspects that are entirely antithetical to your country's, there's going to be a very rough transition to integrating those people. And sometimes they don't always want to integrate themselves. So I've talked with some people from some of these countries where there's a lot of refugees, and or at least in their areas. So like people in like Sweden, for example, in Norway, and I think parts of Finland, uh, they say they're like, yeah, there used to some parts of town used to be nice, but now we just don't go there because we know that there's chance we might get assaulted, and it's like this is terrible. Like,
Well,
it's absolutely horrendous. I mean, and now there's terrorism in Europe being spread further, and it's really unfortunate because obviously the answer we would want to happen is that there wouldn't be any war for these people to flee from in the first place. But so it's not so easy for governments to work things out like that without violence. So they just uh, they just choose to get out of Dodge, which I can't blame them for that.
so I don't
So
actually know what the story here is. I don't know what happened. Can you tell me what happened with this story?
okay, well, I mean it is pretty self-explanatory.
There was a shooting in Oslo, and
in Oslo, yes.
it they believe that the suspect was Muslim. That's just that was it. What day was this?
This was, let's see, I'm looking at it right now. This was well, I'm looking at something that was updated today. See, it says there was a shooting near a gay bar investigated as terrorism, and they canceled a pride parade because of this. So it says two people were killed and 8 others were taken to hospital after shooting near the London pub, which described itself on its website as the largest gay and lesbian venue in Oslo. So basically, there were multiple calls that police received around 1 in the morning. Um, so it was this guy formerly from Iran who was known to the police but has only received minor convictions up until now.
Oh.
Uh, says the Domestic Intelligence Service of Norway said it was working to clarify whether more acts of violence may be planned after the shooting. So the shooting happened on Saturday, it seems.
We hear a lot less about, and again, topic for another day. We hear a lot less about attacks like this. I don't know if that's because there are simply fewer of them, or we were just, all being run around by the propaganda machine in the early aughts about all the Islamic terrorists.
Right.
Which, again, topic for another day. But I remember so many more. It seemed like there were a lot more attacks by Muslims in the early aughts, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I don't know if that's just there really just haven't been as many attacks, or they haven't made the news as much because we're not gung ho about war in the Middle East anymore. I don't know,
Right.
or we're like looking for ways to justify staying in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of attacks in the past like 10 years too. Like, I mean, a lot of them being in France, like Nice,
Mm-hmm.
several in Paris. Like the Paris is, from what I've seen in some places, pretty much a police state because there's like gendarmeries, there's like military police there everywhere. They've got machine guns, they've got like heavy body armor. They're fully decked out for just shit to start going down in the middle of Paris in broad daylight because and they're constantly raiding people's apartments and houses and stuff because people are constantly planning more shit. Like
Yeah.
it's really bad. It's really bad.
But you don't hear about that kind of stuff as much as you used to,
Right.
right?
I mean that may just be through the filter of like American news,
I mean, that's
but
possible because that's certainly possible. There was allegedly Fox News was perpetuating this idea of like there was a caravan of immigrants who were all coming to the U.S. They were just gonna bombard the border and do something. I don't know. They were all gonna make a run for it, I guess.
hmm,
Well, it just kind of disappeared. Like this was a story they were running for like a week or so, and then it just kind of vanished. Then suddenly there was no caravan anymore. Where'd it go? Nobody
that's
knows.
that's kind of like all those immigrants that they took to Belarus that were trying to get into Poland. Remember that? Like right before things popped off with Ukraine, that was like
Mm.
a targeted move by Belarus to raise tensions in the because they knew that Poland wasn't going to take in the
Well,
refugees, but Belarus purposefully sent them to the border to start a crisis with them.
well. My point was that there was no caravan in Mexico. Was it just didn't
Right.
exist? It was just made up. It
Well,
was
there's always caravans. There's always people trickling in,
well,
but it's
sure, but this was like
like
there was a giant caravan of people of immigrants who were all gonna try to like illegally cross or something, and it just never happened because it was never gonna happen in the first place. There was no giant caravan. Now, I recognize in that case, in the case you're talking about, there was, this was done for a reason, but the Mexican caravan was just a story concocted by the conservative news to stir up xenophobia, because that's what it's good at.
yeah,
The
there are people that come all the way to the southern border, all the way from like Central America,
Yeah,
like that just hop
and
in trains
Colombia.
and shit. Yeah, Colombia, just hopping trains and hitchhiking and uh, just stowing away on trucks and stuff. Like, I mean,
No,
there's always
I
people
agree.
headed here.
No, I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah, people from like Guatemala, El Salvador, Colombia, a lot of places
Nicaragua,
that are that have had to deal with like cartels and things like that, and so they're
right?
fleeing for safety, and we really don't make it easy to get a visa. I have a
We
friend
do
who.
not make it easy to become a citizen. Period.
No, that's
So
true. We don't.
my dad had to go through this process, and it was a living nightmare. And he's still probably never going to become a citizen because this thing happened back in the 80s. So basically, he turned 18, and his redneck step grandmother was like, "You're 18, you got to vote now." She wasn't even thinking about how he wasn't a citizen yet, and so he voted in I think it was like the '84 election, and he. When trying to get his citizenship decades later, they brought that up to him, and he was just like, "Well, who do I talk to about fixing this then?" And they were just like, "Lol, IDK, like, get fucked."
Yeah, I know or well, we both know. We have a friend who's originally he and his family are originally from India, and the parents applied for citizenship, and I wouldn't at the time. So like 6 years had passed or something like that, and they, I don't think we're any closer to obtaining a citizenship. I wouldn't be surprised if they still haven't gotten it to this day. I have a friend who's Dutch who is right now attempting to apply for a visa, and he says it is a nightmare also. So it is a little humorous that we have the whole, oh, well, if you want to come to this country, do it legally. Okay, well, here's all these people doing it legally, and it's awful. The system doesn't work.
Yeah,
So, again,
it's like,
topic for another
and
day.
you and they wonder why people come here illegally. It's like because why even bother trying to do it the right way when it takes years to accomplish, and they can just end up here anyway.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Like there is no incentive to do it the legal way because the legal way is difficult as hell. It's just completely rigged to make it to almost like a deterrent. Like they want to make you really work to become an American citizen when there's millions of people here that became citizens just by simply let's see what I say I call it winning the soul lottery.
Yeah.
Like your consciousness happened to be put in this body here in America, so they're just like, "Yep, I'm proud to be an American citizen." It's like, yeah, you didn't really earn that though, did you, bud? There's a lot of people who are a lot more hardworking than you who are would be a benefit to this country and our economy that um, don't want to have around you. Like all the people picking fruit in California in 110-degree heat.
Right.
Like the white people are always like, they're taking our jobs. It's like, all right, do you want to go do that work? Do you want to bust your ass in a kitchen 24 hours?
Right.
Like, or be picking oranges out in a field and when it's like 110 degrees outside? Hell no.
Yeah, you don't want to be a dishwasher for like $7 an hour.
Right.
You want to get paid, um, $15 an hour, which is fine. That's fine. No one should be paid $7 an hour anyways at a job.
Right.
That's the I was just making a point there, but the point is simply, yeah, like the price of like produce is down relatively because of this immigrant labor. They can get paid less to do the same job, right?
Right.
That's just a feature of capitalism, broadly speaking.
It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Right. Yeah, no, slavery is definitely a feature. Oops. Anyway,
Whoops.
whoops. Um, but yeah, no. And the other thing about it is, people who apply for citizenship, they have to pass like tests about American history. So,
Yes, I remember my dad having to learn like 30 fucking Native American tribes and all the different presidents and stuff and
which,
answer questions about like symbolic things. Like he asked me, he's like, "Blake, who is the quote unquote father of our country?" I'm just like, "Oh, George Washington." He's like, "All right, so how the hell am I supposed to know that though?" Like,
well, so and the thing about that is like we learned that kind of stuff in high school, right? Or in theory, we should have learned that.
elementary school even. I like we get retaught American history several times
Well,
throughout
sure,
school.
but Right. Well, I guess I should have clarified. We learned that sort of stuff in school, in our
Yeah.
primary education, or in
Right.
theory at the very least.
Yeah.
And Garen freaking T, if you would give like a simple, like a basic test of American history to our population, it would do abysmally.
It's been tested, and that is exactly true. Most
Yeah.
people, most U.S. citizens cannot, without like studying and preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks, they cannot pass a U.S. citizenship test. They simply cannot.
Right. And these people have to learn this information that most people in the U.S. Uh, do not know, and they're still subject to like lower wages, having to live in places that are like lower class, lower income, all that sort of stuff. It's like they don't deserve that. They tried way harder to get here than you did.
Right.
Um. So anyway, is there? Uh-oh. Blake, can you hear me? All right. Well, I think we've covered all of our stories. So, is there anything you want to add before we sign
Um.
off?
Not really. I was just saying before things got cut off that a lot of people are very more than happy to live in terrible housing here just because they have the opportunity of being here in America, which is says a lot about I don't know Western society in general that there are modern Western countries that are so impoverished and just overrun by like gangs and cartels and shit. But and they're right at our doorstep. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have too much else to add.
Okay.
Let's see. So this is I want to say this is like the fifth or the sixth episode. By episode 10, well, we do have a sort of special episode that we will have just released prior to this one on the Texas GOP. But by episode 10, I do want to have another special uh,
Yeah.
episode or video, or like one that's specifically about a certain topic. It could be niche or it could be broad. And I would like to potentially have a guest on uh, in the future. So that'd be interesting. Spice things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully, connection issues won't be as big of a problem then. But whatever. But yes, if you listened to this this far, thank you so much for listening to us and just lending us your ears. And hopefully, you can join us again next week. All right, bye.